Hey guys, welcome to Arden. I'm Dylan. Some of you guys might know me as Arden from Reddit or whatever. Probably most of you won't know me at all. But I'm hoping to change that with this YouTube channel. So I'll probably post videos maybe twice or three times a week about magic-related, news or stories. I'm a big fan of the stories and the lore and everything, or maybe new cards and stuff, finance or whatever, just to maybe enrich your Magic playing experience or entertain you, inform you. Because I've been playing Magic now for like 4 years and about 3 years competitively, so I feel like I've got some knowledge on the subject that maybe could help you guys be better Magic players, or just enrich your experience. So the first series I'm going to be doing is going to be about sideboarding in Modern, because Modern is the format that I generally play the most, and I feel like sideboarding is very, very important in competitive Magic. Most of you probably know this. Some of you might not really understand the importance of sideboarding, but essentially it can completely shift the tides of between victory and defeat with your deck, because there's certain matchups where, like, if you don't have good sideboard cards against it, you'll most likely lose. But if you do have good sideboard cards against it, like, they are not going to be able to stop you, or they're going to be shut down. So this series is just going to be trying to educate you guys on good cards and sideboards against certain matchups, like Affinity, Tron, or Jund, or whatever. The first one I'm going to be doing today is about Affinity, because Affinity is a very linear deck, so it either wins fast or not, or doesn't win at all, because it doesn't really have many ways to deal with the other player's strategy. It's the opposite of a control deck. So yeah, enjoy. Alright, so to start off the list, we will have two honorable mentions before we get to the top five. So, the first honorable mention is Creeping Corrosion, which is 2 generic mana and 2 green mana for a sorcery. Destroy all artifacts. So, that's pretty straightforward. It's essentially a board wipe against Affinity. It's great in green decks. If you're going green strategy or splashing green, it's not too hard to get double green, and it can wreck developed board states of Affinity. The only thing is it's sorcery speed, so it's not very flexible, and generally, you want like instant speed removal or, really like versatile stuff to get with Affinity, because, and also by turn 4 or even turn 3 if you have, mana dorks or whatever, Affinity will have probably already developed a pretty formidable board state, and they will have probably already dealt a good amount of damage to you. So that's the only reason why it's not in the top 5, because it's not. I don't think it's the best way to deal with Affinity in Modern. And all right, so the second honorable mention is Smash to Smithereens, which is 2 mana, 1 generic and 1 red for an instant. Destroy target artifact, and it deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. So, it's kind of like a lightning bolt and a smelt stapled together. It's a very good card. It was worth a lot at one time, then it got reprinted. But, so it's a burn spell, essentially, and it destroys their artifacts. It's not bad, but the reason it's not in the top 5 is because I don't think it's the best. Like, it just hoses Affinity the best. It's a solid card, but I don't think it's just, like, it's not going to destroy their board state enough for it to be within the top 5 best sideboard cards for Affinity. But it's still good. Still a solid card to consider if you want. Alright, top 5. Number 5 is Hercule's Recall, which is 1 blue and 1 generic. For an instant, return all artifacts target player owns to his or her hand. So the reason this is in the top 5, it's not. It is a good card. It's not like the best card, but versus Affinity, but it's some of the only real artifact like removal that blue has in like all of Modern. Blue is not really about removing artifacts, so like blue is kind of in a tough spot where they don't really have many ways to deal with Affinity. So this is up there in the list because it's like one of the only options. It's 2 mana for an instant, so it's very versatile. You can play it when they're attacking in combat, or you can play it, you know, at the end of their turn, and it kind of like it deals with, you know, the counters that have been put on by Steel Overseer or, you know, Ravager, you know, if he's been sacrificed to put counters on a creature. So it's a versatile card. Different situations where it can be used in. But the thing with Hurkyl's Recall is that they can kind of redevelop pretty quickly, most likely, with, you know, their mana rocks and their Mox Opals and stuff. They could probably get back other stuff with it in a turn or two. So you have to like maximize the potential of this card, like use it at the exact time where it'll deal the most damage, or where it'll be as detrimental enough to them. So number 4 is Shattering Spree, which is 1 red mana for a sorcery with replicate 1 red. So, you know, you can replicate it for 1 red as many times as you want. And it's destroy target artifact. So this is a very, very flexible card. If you just want to destroy 1 artifact, you just pay 1 red, or you pay more mana for the different amount of threats there are. It's a sorcery, though, which is kind of annoying. And also, it can only really be played well in heavy red decks, like decks that are playing a lot of red. So like maybe Burn, and like that's about it. And with Burn will probably already have answers for affinity creatures, you know, like Lightning Bolt or, you know, Rift Bolt or whatever. So I mean, it's a good card. It just doesn't it's kind of redundant, I feel like, in Burn decks, and anywhere else it's kind of hard to get all the mana you need. So that's why it's number 4. Number 3 is Ancient Grudge. I personally love Ancient Grudge because of how flexible it is. It's 2 mana, 1 red, and 1 generic with a flashback cost of 1 green to destroy target artifact. So that doesn't seem that good, like, when you first look at it. Like, at most, you're going to destroy 2 artifacts. But what you got to realize is that, like, you can destroy 1 artifact, their best thing, and then you can just leave it in the graveyard as, like, an insurance policy, like, in case something else good comes out, or, like, kind of just scare them. Like, they don't want to play their best threat, because then you can just destroy it immediately. And, like, it's just, not only does it psychologically mess with them, but it's just, like, it's genuinely good against their deck. And also, it's good in multiples. Much like Lingering Souls, where, like, you know, one of them makes 4 creatures, and then 2 of them makes 8 creatures. Like, it's just incrementally better the more you have. So having multiples of it in your hand is just, like, probably will wreck the Affinity deck. Like, they'll run out of answers pretty fast. So, yeah, number 2. The next 2 are both white cards. White has really good ways to answer Affinity. So number 2 is Kataki War's Wage, which is 2 mana, 1 white and 1 generic, for a 2/1 legendary creature spirit. And all artifacts, its ability is all artifacts have, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this artifact unless you pay 1 generic mana. So basically, it makes it really taxing for Affinity players to keep their board state alive. Like, every single turn, they're going to either have to lose, like, the threats that they just played, or prevent them from playing anything that the turn that just happened, that just started. So, I mean, it's very, very taxing for Affinity players. You know, how their decks are very, you know, mana efficient, and, like, they play threats that are low mana, but, like, really, you know, good, high value out of them. This makes it, like, the value of the cards decreases significantly when you have to pay for them every single turn. So the only problem I have with Kataki, which is, that's very susceptible to removal. Like, if they have a Galvanic Blast, or, like, a Dismember, maybe, or something, like, the Kataki's gone. But, you know, if they don't have that, then they're kind of in a very bad position, and you're going to gain a big advantage over them. And now, number 1, which I don't know if you guys saw this coming, but this is, I'd say, the best artifact hate, like, in sideboards ever. Stony Silence. It's, again, 2 mana, 1 white and 1 generic. For an enchantment, activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. This shuts down, like, 90% of the threats and, you know, mana producers in Affinity. It shuts down, like, Mox Opal. It shuts down the Dark Steel Land. You know, it shuts down Ravager. It shuts down Steel Overseer. Shuts down so many of the cards in the deck that, like, essentially, if you get that card out, like, if you see it in your hand, you're probably going to win the match, because they can't really get back from it, because they're generally Affinity doesn't main deck any art enchantment removal, and maybe they have like one or two enchantment removal cards on their sideboard, but like, so they're probably not going to be able to destroy Stony Silence, and like their cards, most of their cards just suck if like they can't activate the abilities. You know, Cranial played in, like you just can't get back from that really. They're just hoping to maybe attack with like Etched Champion or like Vault Scourge, and that's probably not going to do it if you built your deck well. You know, like they're not going to be. That's not going to be enough for them to win. So yeah, that's why Stony Silence is the #1 card. It's just it wrecks Affinity, and yeah, so that's a list, in my opinion, of the top 5 best cards to put in against Affinity in Modern. So tell me what you think in the comments. I would like to know how you feel about those cards. If you think there's any that I missed, and discuss them. You know, tell me, because I mean, you know, there's always good thing about like sideboarding is there's just a variety. There's so many cards you can put to customize your sideboard for like what people are playing, where you know your metagame or whatever. So that's what's great about sideboarding. So yeah, talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching.